Here the ways of men divide. If you wish to strive for peace of soul and happiness, then believe. If you wish to be a disciple of truth, then inquire. Many assume that truth aligns with goodness, that truth serves life. Friedrich Nietzsche, however, challenges this assumption. He echoes a quote by Lord Byron: "Sorrow is knowledge. Those that know the most must mourn the deepest. The tree of knowledge is not the tree of life." In the Garden of Eden, there were two trees, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. Yet, when Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge, they are cast out of paradise. Byron and Nietzsche highlight a troubling paradox. Truth does not necessarily nurture life, and can often be destructive. But if truth is dangerous, why do we seek it? Why do humans have an insatiable will to truth, even when animals seem to thrive without it? Nietzsche argued that this drive is not separate from life's deeper impulse, the will to power, the fundamental force that drives all life to assert, master, and overcome itself. Truth-seeking, then, is not a selfless pursuit, but a form of power-seeking. Even so, we are left to wonder, what is truth itself? In his book, Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche provides a clue with the following cryptic quote: "Supposing truth is a woman, what then?" He continues, "Are there not grounds for the suspicion that all philosophers, insofar as they were dogmatists, have been very inexpert about women, that the gruesome seriousness, the clumsy obtrusiveness with which they have usually approached truth so far, have been awkward and very improper methods for winning a woman's heart?" Here, Nietzsche critiques the rigid, systematizing approach of philosophers like Socrates or Kant, who sought absolute, fixed truths. Traditional philosophy has treated truth as something to be grasped and possessed, constructing essences, definitions, and perfect systems. But Nietzsche suggests that truth, like a woman, resists mastery. It is elusive, dynamic, and ever-shifting. Professor Teresa Fenichel of Holy Cross captures this idea well. Nietzsche speaks of a truth that refuses possession, truth as resistance to mastery, knowledge, predictability. She continues, "Philosophers have never been good at seducing woman, that they have never understood that the proper approach to truth is indirect, flirtatious. And so it seems that philosophers have been too clumsy and hard-headed, that they have failed to court truth." Fenichel adds a witty yet profound remark. Truth is a woman because she eludes philosophers, recoiling from crude attempts at domination and penetration. We need only imagine Kant engaged in foreplay to appreciate the aptness of Nietzsche's metaphor. But was their failure mere clumsiness, or was it something deeper? Perhaps these philosophers were unconsciously refusing to acknowledge what truth is, fearing what it would reveal. Perhaps the true nature of truth was too painful for them to bear. Could it be that the pursuit of absolute truth was, in fact, a strategy to avoid confronting its instability? Fenichel asserts that truth is traumatic. Because of its elusive nature, truth forces us to question our identity, our deepest assumptions, and the structures that give our lives meaning. She writes, "To allow the question of the feminine to resonate with us is to let the ground of who we are and what we do, the ground of our identity and our freedom, imperceptibly and inevitably slip away." Fenichel continues to analyze the relationship of truth and the self. She quotes from Beyond Good and Evil, "We ought to be shaken from the ordinary, safe, calculated assumption of some fundamental stability, that we should no longer rest easy in the knowledge that this is I." Fenichel then calls for us to embrace truth. So I urge Nietzsche, teachers and students of Nietzsche, to go further to play out the consequences of his succubus truth, his navel truth, his feline truth, to suffer to its proper end the groundlessness and dispossession of the unconscious, to become an I that not only can relearn, but that must, horrifically and miraculously, eternally relearn, eternally unteach. To courageously seek truth means to embrace change and instability in those things that you hold dear, even in those things that define you. It means to cast aside the certainties that most accept without question. Nietzsche, in his essay on Truth and Lies in a Nonmoral Sense, challenges the notion that truth is fixed or absolute. Instead, he argues that what we call truth is merely a collection of metaphors that have lost their original vitality, solidified into unquestioned conventions. What then is truth? A movable host of metaphors, metonymies, and anthropomorphisms. In short, a sum of human relations which have been poetically and rhetorically intensified, transferred, and embellished, and which, after long usage, seem to a people to be fixed, canonical, and binding. Truths are illusions which we have forgotten are illusions. They are metaphors that have become worn out and have been drained of sensuous force. Coins which have lost their embossing and are now considered as metal and no longer as coins. If Nietzsche exposes truth as a construction, an illusion mistaken for reality, Martin Heidegger takes this further by redefining truth as Aletheia, a Greek term meaning unconcealment. Where Nietzsche sees truth as a veil of dead metaphors, Heidegger focuses on the process of revealing and concealing, arguing that truth is not something static, but something that continuously unfolds. Rather than grasping for an absolute, he suggests that truth emerges dynamically through shifts in understanding. Imagine my sleeve. The visible part represents the current truth, yet a simple fold reveals a previously hidden side. The fabric remains the same, but what is disclosed changes. Similarly, all possible truths exist within this sleeve world, though they are not revealed simultaneously. What we call truth, then, is always partial and subject to change. In saying that truth is a woman, Nietzsche is not only emphasizing the elusive nature of truth, but also expressing reverence towards women. This is a point that is often overlooked. Fenichel points out that though Nietzsche is often accused of misogyny, for every criticism he deals at women, he deals double that amount towards men. She writes, Nietzsche makes it clear that for every jab he takes at woman, his gripe is with the state of European man. The great error of the women's movement, he tells us, is its underlying assumption that woman ought to be the same as man, that any difference between man and woman is something to be overcome, made up for, rather than respected and preserved. For Nietzsche, the feminine embodies something dynamic and untamable, much like truth itself. This willingness to embrace the unknown, the dangerous, the ever-changing, is central to Nietzsche's philosophy. Rather than treating truth as a source of certainty, he sees it as an adventure, an experiment in knowledge and experience. As he writes in The Gay Science, "No, life has not disappointed me. On the contrary, I find it truer, more desirable, and mysterious every year. Ever since the day when the great liberator came to me, the idea that life could be an experiment of the seeker for knowledge and not a duty, not a calamity, not trickery. And knowledge itself, let it be something else for others. For example, a bed to rest on, or the way to such a bed, or a diversion, or a form of leisure. For me, it is a world of dangers and victories in which heroic feelings, too, find places to dance and play. Life as a means to knowledge. With this principle in one's heart, one can live not only boldly, but even gaily, and laugh gaily too. And who knows how to laugh anyway, and live well if he does not first know a good deal about war and victory. If you found this video thought-provoking, please like and subscribe to support the channel. I'd love to hear your take on truth in the comments. Do you see it as elusive, or do you think it can be grasped? Also, let me know if there are any other topics you'd like me to cover. A big shout out to the Nietzsche podcast and Teresa Fenichel's work for inspiring this video. You'll find both linked in the description.